Hey guys, welcome to this video. Today I wanted to have a little chat about the 3D relationship template and the twin flame journey and how they don't mesh with each other and how they are two separate things and how we are shifting out of that 3D way of relationships and shifting into the 5D and higher relational templates. So what essentially the ascension path does and the twin flame path does is shift us out of the lower vibrational frequencies of fear, lack, and scarcity. And it shifts us into a vibration of abundance and love and joy and peace. And all those sort of, really higher vibrational timelines. So when we are going through the twin flame path and we are expecting that this twin flame relationship is going to show up the same as a 3D relationship that we've had in the past, with karmics or soulmates or whatever it might have been, we are definitely missing the mark. So, and we all sort of go through this where we have to realize that this dynamic that we have with the twin flame is so far from anything that you've had in a romantic relationship way with anyone else. And it's hard to wrap your head around because it does feel like that 3D sort of like romantic thing, but because we're placing that expectation onto the divine masculine to be in that sort of lower vibrational template of love and lower vibrational template of it's really like lust and validation. You validate me, I validate you. There's ups and downs, there's breaking ups and getting back together, and it's, whatever it might be, judgment if the other person isn't, living up to the standards that you perhaps have of them, if they're not showing up in ways that you deem necessary to have this relationship with them, and all those sorts of things. The ascension path is essentially breaking us out of those patterns and loops and sending us or transcending us into higher vibrational templates of relationships, which are unconditional love, which, you will get to a place, if you keep shifting on the journey and you keep doing the, inner work on the journey, you'll shift to a place where you are in unconditional love for everything and everyone, including your twin flame. So that means you are in a place where you're good with whether you're with your twin flame or you're not. And, you will reach that place where you have unconditional love for them no matter what, if they're with you or if they're not with you or whatever they're doing. It's just you have that unconditional love for the path that they're walking and whatever they might need to be doing at the time. So, and you come to a place where you realize that this is you reincarnated in, and you've heard this 1,000 times, right? You've heard that this is your same soul and blah 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 blah. We hear this all the time, but when you actually get into a place where it resonates with you and it clicks, you will see them for what they are, which is you see them for you. So how can you not have unconditional love for yourself? When you have unconditional love for yourself, you will in turn have unconditional love for your twin flame because they're you. So you won't be running those patterns of, anger and resentment towards them for how this whole thing is played out, because you understand that that's you, and that was just the mirror reflecting back to you what you had to see and what you had to transmute. And that is the ascension path. If you're on the twin flame ascension path and the twin flame spiritual awakening, it's, a whole different ball game just to a normal spiritual awakening. We're talking about another incarnation of yourself being an exact mirror of you, pushing you through the spiritual awakening and the ascension journey to reach the highest version of yourself that is possible in this lifetime. So it's quite profound. It's not something just to take lightly, and it's not something to sit here and, you know, talk badly about that person and all this sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, that's you. So if you've still got that deep down anger and resentment towards them, then you've probably still got some lower, you know, lack frequencies and fear-based energies to transmute out, which is totally fine. So when it comes to the relational templates, which is what this video was, you know, initially about, what I wanted to get across was that if we are trying to put this twin flame relationship into a 3D relational template, it's never going to work, and it's never going to be that with the twin flame. So what we have to do is shift our perspective on how we're viewing the twin flame. And I just did a video about this the other day and posted it. So, you know, how are we perceiving the twin flame? We need to shift our perspective on how we're seeing the divine masculine. And when we shift that perspective, and we're just viewing them as that mirror of ourselves, it will help us along the journey. So we can't be putting that 3D relational template, and the 3D relational template that I'm speaking of is, you know, past and previous ways of having relationships or romantic relationships in the past. So, you know, like I said before, you know, validation, having expectations on that person of how they show up, and you know, good and bad, up and down, right and wrong. You know, you're fighting one day, you've made up the next day, and blah, blah, blah. A twin flame relationship, when it comes to it, is not like that. It is, and when you come into inner union, you have this underlying sense of peace, majority of the time. I would say nearly all of the time. And that is how the twin flame relationship will show up when you come into that space of inner union with yourself, because they are you, and then you've come into that place of inner union with yourself. It's only natural that that energy follows itself and it shows up in that way. So when we're in the early stages and we're going through all the obsessive, you know, fear-based um, oscillations and all that sort of stuff, that is how the divine masculine is showing up in your world, because they can't show up any other way. They are showing up as the mirror for you to see what you need to transmute and what you need to um, look at within yourself, and transmute out of your energy field. So just keep in mind, if we are, that's what I wanted to get across, is that if we are trying to put this twin flame dynamic into a 3D relationship template, it simply is not going to work. It's never going to show up for you in that way. So first and foremost, it's coming into that union space, the wholeness, oneness with self first, and then your twin flame will naturally mirror that back to you, and it will be just this ease and ebb and flow in the dynamic with the twin flame. It won't be something that you have to, you know, strive for and keep, keep trying to make work, and keep trying to um, please the other person, and trying to be someone you're not, you know, maybe trying to look a certain way for another for that other person because that's how they like you to look, or all those sorts of things. It's not ever going to be that. It's literally coming into who you are and knowing who you are as a soul, and and really embodying that soul frequency. And once you do, that's when the relationship or the union in the 3D with the twin flame will be on the table, because you're in union with yourself, they are you. So, in turn, that can be on the table for the twin flame relationship in the 3D, if that's something that you choose. So I hope that helps a little bit, to maybe help you understand why, if you're trying to put this relationship into a 3D template of old past relationships, why it's not working for you. You might have, gone around in loops and loops in the past, um, and not quite known why it's not working. And you're doing all those things. You're doing all the things right. Showing up how they might like you to show up. You're bending yourself over backwards. You are, doing your hair the way that they like it. You're going to the gym to try and look better. You're, doing all those things, but none of it's ever going to work. And those things are great, and you need to be doing them for yourself. You can't be doing them for the twin flame to maybe get their attention, or things like that, because that's never gonna work. It's got to come from the inside first. Otherwise, the outer union will never take place in 3D. So yeah, just know and try and shift your perspective of that 3D template relationship, and just let go of all those expectations. Let go of the expectations on yourself to show up in a certain way for your twin flame. And you're doing this for yourself, so it's all an inner job. Everything moving forward is doing for yourself, and doing for yourself only. If we're doing things to please the twin flame, and to maybe make them jealous, or jealousy is another big thing, making them jealous. Are we doing it to get their attention? Are we posting things on social media to get their attention? um are we trying to lose weight to look better, for them, subconsciously, deep down? Is it so that they might be more attracted to you, or things like that? Just know that's the old way of relationship templates. That's never going to work. This is your ascension, and this is what we are as twin flames, shifting out of those lower vibrational relationship templates, and we are birthing a new way of relationships on earth. This is what essentially we have come here to do, along with other things. But one of the things is to shift the 3D relationships of lack and fear and jealousy, and that really crappy energy that goes back and forth with relationships, and up and down, and on and off, and hot and cold, and all those sorts of things, where we're shifting out of that to show this really amazing and peaceful way of relating, in a romantic way. So it really is shifting those relational grids on earth to come into a new frequency of relationships, and show, and then that will vibrate and show onto others, in the world as well. So it has that ripple effect. Twin flames have a really, really powerful energy, especially when they come together, and people can feel it and people can see it. They might not know what it is. Probably most people won't know what it is, a twin flame relationship or whatnot, but they will feel some energy between these people that's quite profound. So when we really get down to the nitty gritty, we can see that this thing is so, profound, and so much more than just those lower vibrational frequency relationships that you've had in the past. And I will say as well, once you reach your inner union, you won't want to play out those lower vibrational frequency relationships anymore. You will have nothing to do with them. You won't be able to hold them in your energy or in your space, in your life. So people who are coming in that energy, you simply won't have any resonance with them whatsoever. And you might think, oh, in the past I've, really gone for a person like that, but now they're really starting to, or it just really doesn't feel resonant with me at all, and I can't go there. And it will show up the same thing with your twin flame. So as you shift into those higher frequencies of inner union and oneness, your twin flame won't be quite on that level yet, so they will feel very out of resonance to you, and it'll get to a point where you kind of like, I don't really sort of vibe with this person anymore. I'm not, you know, because that all of that obsessiveness goes away as well, and you view them differently. You view them just as you, and you won't be able to play out those patterns and those things the way the relationship was showing up before, or the dynamic was showing up previously. You won't be able to dabble in that anymore, and that's when the whole thing will sort of have a flip on its head. And yeah, when you get to that space where you simply cannot hold the relationship on that frequency anymore, it will feel really liberating as well, because you've spent so much time, kind of obsessing about them, and you ruminating about them, and doing all this work, and transmuting all this energy and everything like that. And once you come into that place of like, oh, I'm just not, I can't meet them where they're at anymore, it feels so liberating, and it feels so good. At least it did for me anyway. If you've had that sort of experience, let me know as well, because that was a very liberating sort of moment for me. And it really did push me further into that oneness frequency and that inner union frequency. So it was really the best thing that ever happened. But just listen to that inner knowing. Listen to your inner intuition. This was sort of telling me to do these things, and like sort of not dabble in those lower vibrational energies for a long time, like months kind of on end. And I sort of doubted it and didn't listen to it and blah blah blah. But then it got to a point where it was like, no, you simply can't do that anymore. So there was just cut and dry. There's no, simply not on the same frequency anymore and vibration, and I just can't hold it in my space anymore. And it's not to say that you're better or worse than they're worse than you, or they're lower than you, or anything like that. It's just that you can't hold it in your space anymore. And like the best thing for them as well is for you to do this, because then that's essentially what shifts them up, um, because you're no longer sort of pushing all your energy out and obsessing over them anymore. You're very much in your own energy, and excited for what's to come in your life. So I hope that resonated a little bit, guys, and just helped a little bit to understand the 3D and the 5D relationship templates. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.